Trophy. We are now joined by Mr. Sunny Gavaskar and Akash Chopra. Both of them join us live. Akash, to you first. That one image that has been splashed across newspapers and social media, even website, is that of MSD talking to MSK Prasad on the eve before he announced that retirement. Do you think there is more than meets the eye?
Obviously we are speculating, like you said, we don't really have a statement coming out of either of them to that effect. But then I think if there was a discussion, and this discussion would have happened 5 months later for sure, after the Champions Trophy. Till the Champions Trophy, you could have easily believed and assumed that he'll be there, he'll be the captain, and after that you had about 2 years for the 2019 World Cup. But now it's come as a surprise. But then you must also keep in mind there are only 3 one-days before the Champions Trophy. Just these 3 one-days against England, and then there's nothing for the next 3 or 4 months till the Champions Trophy in England. So we can still speculate. But then if MSD decides to go, I think we must respect his decision.
Okay, Sunny, let's take the one statement that has come out, and that is the chairman of selectors, MSK Prasad. We just read out that statement shortly, and he goes on to say that this is the right time, this is the right decision. Do you think that the selectors, it could be a decision taken by MS Dhoni, but do you think the selectors were already thinking in that line, and that is now obvious after MSK's statement?
Yes, I think that statement actually makes it pretty clear that the selection committee was certainly thinking in terms of bringing in Virat Kohli as the captain. And maybe as you said, that photograph of both of them having a little chat, I don't know when it was taken, whether it was taken at the semi-finals of the Ranji Trophy. But there would have been a discussion, and I think it is the right way for MSD to go, because I would rather that MSD went on his own rather than be shoved aside. So I think this is whatever has happened. I think the decision has been taken, has been the correct one.
Okay, Saiva, you were talking about that picture. Just to clarify to our viewers, that picture was indeed taken in the Ranji Trophy semi-final that was being played in Nagpur. But Saiva, continuing with that question, I mean, one can't blame the selectors if that was the line of thinking, considering Virat. With the way he's performed in with the Test team, he is take the claim now for that spot, even in the shorter format, hasn't he?
Well, more than that, I think more than the Test, because Test and 50 overs and T20 formats are completely different. But more than anything else, I think it was perhaps the Indian team's performance last year when they lost to South Africa at home. That may have also influenced the selection committee in thinking of a change in the captaincy. And maybe MSD sensed it, and therefore he opted out. But the good part is that he's available as a player to Virat and to the selection committee and to India. And I think that is the big plus.
Okay, Akash, I'll come to you now. The other thing that has come out in terms of statement, and this has been reported in the top English daily of the country, where a source which is close to Virat Kohli, sorry, I beg your pardon, a source which is close to MS Dhoni goes on to say that MS Dhoni was well aware of the fact that this is now Virat Kohli's team. Now, just to talk to you as a cricketer, does this make a difference now when you're trying to build a team, and if you have 2 different captains in 2 different formats, it could be tough, and one captain sometimes needs to realize that this is the direction that the team is taking. It's best that one guy leads them there rather than 2 in 2 different formats.
Oh, well, it does make sense, Nikhil, because after the Champions Trophy, he had to take a decision. I don't know for sure that he'll be around till the 2019 World Cup. And if that's not the case, then you need to give the new captain enough time to build a new team, build a new culture. And this team is doing well under Virat Kohli. So, right. Yes, that may just be the case that Mahendra Singh Dhoni has realized that let Virat Kohli allow to dominate this era, just absorb it and embrace it completely. But also, one more thing we must keep in mind, that it might just enhance his career as a batsman. Because now he doesn't have to worry about putting himself at number 4 or number 5, because that won't be his decision anymore. It will be taken in the best interest of the team, and also what is best for Mahendra Singh Dhoni, the player, the batsman, and how it can benefit the team as well.
Okay, Sunny, the other thing we're talking about Virat, the way he's performing with the Test team. We just had some stats on air just now, and this is looking back at MS Dhoni's captaincy in the limited over format. I mean, there is no doubt that he's been one of the finest captains that India has got in the shorter format of the game. But the last year and a half hasn't been very kind to him as skipper. India has played in that time we are looking at 21 ODIs, and in those 21 ODIs have lost 11 and won only 10, and have in fact lost 3 series. Do you think this must have been on MS Dhoni's mind too?
Well, that's exactly what I said a little while ago when I said that India lost the series to South Africa last year around the same time. And therefore, that would have been at the back of MSD's mind when he took this decision. Because this England team is a very, very good England one-day team. India might have beaten the England Test team 4-0 and in an emphatic manner, in a pretty easy manner. But this England one-day team, if you get the kind of pitches that we had against South Africa, where there was no turn, this England team is going to be a handful. So perhaps I think MSD realized that with Virat having, sometimes captains should also have a little bit of luck going with them. And he probably reckons that, Virat's got the luck going with him. So better to give it to him so that India keeps on winning. I think at the back of MSD's mind would have always been the fact that India should be doing well. And I think, therefore, we need to commend him for taking the decision.
All right, but stay with us, Sunny Gavaskar and Akash Chopra. Now, this is meanwhile the poll that we've got on our website, which is running, and the question that we asked all our readers: who's the best limited overs captain India has ever had? We had given 3 options in Sourav Ganguly, MS Dhoni, and Kapil Dev. And right now, this comes as no surprise that MS Dhoni is leading with 76% of the vote. Sourav Ganguly comes in at the second spot with 19%, and Kapil Dev, who lifted the 1983 World Cup, comes at the third spot with 3%. None of the above was also an option if you thought someone else. That is 2%. We've already got close to 700 votes coming in. Akash and Sunny is still with us. Akash, I'll ask you first, if you had to vote on this poll, who would your pick be?
I'll pick Mahendra Singh Dhoni for a simple reason that he's been sensational in the ODI cricket, whether it's, and in fact, his limited overs cricket, start with the T20 World Cup victory, then the 2011 World Cup victory. And these are huge moments and multiple bilateral series victories, Champions Trophy. He's won everything that there was to be won in the limited overs format. So my vote will also go for Mahendra Singh Dhoni.
Okay, Sunny bhai, before I ask you this question, I mean, apologies for not having your name there, even though you won one of the finest one-day trophies, as far as I remember in my, watching career, the 1985 Champions of Champions, which many believed was as good as a World Cup. But we really didn't want to embarrass you by having your name there and then actually picking who you think is number one. But if I was to ask you amongst the choices that we gave, who would your pick be and why?
No, I'm not surprised that you haven't got me over there because, I think a lot of the guys who vote believe that cricket has been played ever since the internet started in the 1990s, that there was no cricket before that. So that's understandable. Okay. And that is the reason I pick Kapil Dev. Because Kapil Dev, for the simple reason, at that time, India wasn't winning anything in World Cup or wasn't winning too many one-day matches. Kapil Dev gave the belief. He led by example. And he lifted the World Cup for India in 1983. It's after that India started to believe that they can be competitive in limited overs cricket as well. And therefore, I would say that for me, Kapil Dev is perhaps the best of the 3 names mentioned. No disrespect to the other 2, but for me, Kapil Dev is the best India's limited overs captain. I'm not going by results. I'm just going by what he achieved and the benchmark that he set.
Okay, it's great to have different opinions. Akash Chopra, Sunny bhai, thanks so much for joining us.